actually going live. Right, we're live now. Here we are with some music today. Monica, what do you think of music?
Yeah, but this is like a disco, almost like a DJ. You're becoming like a DJ. Yeah.
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live is that?
That was me. Hello and welcome to another Facebook Live. My name's Craig. I'm from mansioningles.com, which is a website for you to learn English and practice for free. And also we have a podcast at inglespodcast.com that's also free and that will help you with your English. And with me today is Monica. Hello, Monica.
Hello, and happy to be here because today we have a very interesting topic. Now, my website is called blogdelingles.com, and you can find many free resources and courses, and Blog para Aprender Inglés, that's the old one. Okay, so there's two websites there. And I'm very surprised about the music. I didn't expect that. That is, we're getting more professional.
Well, we're here to try and take your English to the next level. So we're trying to take Facebook Live to the next level.
To the next level, yeah.
Of extra music and sounds that we'll hear as we speak about humour. Mm-hmm. Because today we're talking about British humour, Spanish humour, also a little of American humour. Because, I mean, some people are feeling sad and sometimes life is not really fantastic. So it's good to laugh. It's good to have fun. And I hope today we can look at telling jokes and some vocabulary that you might find interesting about humour, and also hear from you about what you think British humour is, and if you like it and if you don't like it. We'll have a chat with you a bit later. But I think, Monica, we have people joining us already.
Yes, Christine, Andrea, Leonel, Andros Kles, Duke, I don't know, Duke. So thank you for coming.
Duke's asking where Reza is. Reza doesn't usually come on these Facebook Lives with me. Yeah. He's the podcaster, my co-host on the podcast. So he appears in audio only and doesn't usually come on camera. So every 2 weeks, Monica is here with me doing Facebook Live, and Lynn is also here every second week. So thanks for joining us. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for your time watching the replay.
So Carlos and Clara just joined.
Hello.
I said to Craig before we started, I said, this is more your show, okay? Because it's British humor and he's British, and there are many things that are very specific about British humor. And on the other hand, I am not an expert on Spanish humor, so the audience have to help me, because it's some of the things I know, some of the things I don't know, and also I'm not very good at telling jokes. I cannot remember jokes. It's just simply so that is a little bit difficult for me. Okay, but maybe the people from the audience can write down some jokes and we can say, we can compete with British humor here. Because British humor is very well known.
At the end of the Facebook Live. So if you do have your jokes and you want to come and tell us a joke, then you're welcome to come and join us on Facebook and tell your joke. And we'll leave about 15 minutes at the end if you want to do that. But let's look at some vocabulary first. And this is similar in Spanish, isn't it?
Yes, it's exactly the same. To have a sense of humor or humor. There's two spelling here. Yeah. British, always more complicated. Humor, yes.
That's funny. That's the first joke.
That's the first joke. And for you, it's not funny at all. But this is something the Americans changed, the spelling, to make it more, to make it easier. Because humor is British with a U, O-U-R. And humor without the U at the end is American, but it's the same word and the same sound, okay? And es tener sentido del humor. It's very important, no, to have sense of humor. Yes. It's very important because it makes life much easier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Okay. It's easier to laugh than cry. Mm-hmm. But there are different ways of expressing jokes or funny things, the first thing to remember is that we tell a joke, not say. Sometimes Spanish speakers confuse say and tell. When can I use tell? When can I use say? Tell a joke is a collocation in the same way that you tell the truth, not say the truth. You tell a lie. So those are very strong collocations. Just remember that you tell jokes.
Well, some people say make jokes also. They confuse it because in Spanish is hacer una broma. Entonces people, they translate make joke. And no. To tell a joke, like Craig said. And then
you can play a joke on someone. That's another expression. To play a joke on someone is, how would you say that in Spanish? Hacer...
Gastar una broma. Gastar una broma a alguien. Gastar. We use it's also a collocation. Gastar una broma. So, and also, I would like to explain first explain the word gag, because this concept, I don't have it so clear, but pun and prank, yes, I know very well.
Okay, so gag is very similar to a joke, but it's more informal. And when you speak to a comedian, or let me put that word up quickly, comedian is a person who tells jokes. And years ago, they used to make a difference between comedian and comedienne, which is the female comedian. Although these days, like actor and actress, the females prefer the male term. So a comedian is very commonly used for a man and a woman. And you can also use the word comic. Now, comic can be a magazine that you look at with pictures. Dibujos animados is a comic, like a Spider-Man comic or a Batman comic. But it can also be a person who tells jokes. So comedian and comic are both used to tell jokes. And when comedians and comics speak about jokes, they often use the word gag, to tell a gag. So it's more informal, it means a joke, and it goes with tell. So you tell a gag, you tell a joke, and the meaning is the same.
Then we have the word pun, and I like this word because it's like Spanish. The Spanish would say pan, like bread. No, but pun. Pan is a Hindi word. It comes from India, actually, and it's yes, it's like guru or like pandit. Also, is an Indian word, Hindi. Pun means juego de palabras. This is very, very common in jokes, and that's why they're so difficult to understand, because in many occasions you use the word with a second meaning, or it's like playing with words, and that's why it becomes very, very difficult to understand. You have to know a lot about the language to understand a pun, for example. And a prank, it's a practical joke. A prank is una broma. So, for example, I decided that I was going to prank Craig, and I was going to put, instead in his toothpaste, I'm going to put shaving cream. And so he goes in the morning to wash his teeth, and he goes, ah! This is a typical thing that kids do. I remember I did this kind of thing with my brothers. We were always like sneaking and doing things and laughing, ho, 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 like this. This is a prank. So it's una broma. And the other pan es un juego de palabras, okay?
There's a similar expression for prank that I've put just now in the chat, and it's a practical joke. And yes. So you play a practical joke on someone. So the practical joke is actually doing something, not saying something. And your example with the shaving foam and the toothpaste is perfect. So that will be a practical joke or a prank. Christine's asking what a one-liner, and we'll explain.
We were going to talk about that, yeah.
Christine, but it's basically just a very short joke that just has one line, and it's funny. But we'll give you some examples in a second. Would you like to hear an example of a pun, which, as Monica's just explained, is a play on words?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a woman in labor, and if a woman is in labor, she's having a baby, and suddenly she shouts, "Shouldn't, wouldn't, can't, couldn't, didn't." And the doctor said, "Don't worry, those are just contractions."
But this is very bad. This is a bad prank. A bad pun, sorry.
So contractions, I should explain, are when you put two words together, like should not, shouldn't. But also contractions is when your body contracts, for example, when you're in labor, when you're having a baby. So that's a play on words where one word can mean two things.
Yeah, but it's the same in Spanish. I don't know if people understood the joke, but for me, I think it wasn't so difficult for Spanish speakers to understand it because, well, as long as you understand what is to be in labor is estar dando a luz, and the contraction is the same, contracciones. So maybe this in contraction is also the same in grammar, una contracción, but we don't use it in Spanish as in English, no? But you know, wouldn't, shouldn't, no, that's the contraction. But don't you think that when you have to explain a joke, then the joke is not good?
It's not good. That's the problem. Yeah. But if we're teaching English, then I like to explain the joke because maybe some people don't get the joke. And that's another expression. To get a joke means to understand it and find it funny. So if you say, I don't get it, that means you don't understand the joke. I'm sorry, I don't get it. It's not funny to me. I don't understand.
It's not funny. Yeah, this is the worst that can happen to you. You make an effort to tell a joke and everybody, sorry, I didn't understand the joke. What kind of joke is that? So a play on words. What is the difference between, okay, Craig, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a pun and a play on words?
Very similar because you explained them before, and a pun can be a play on words, but pun is also used very commonly when you say something that perhaps has a double meaning, but then you say no pun intended. So that expression, no pun intended, means you've said something that could possibly be funny, but you want the person to know you're not joking.
Yeah.
So no pun intended means that's a play on words. I didn't mean to make you laugh. So perhaps the difference is a play on words is you're using words in a creative way with double meanings, but a pun is always something funny, always something with a funny intention. So no pun intended means I didn't mean that to be funny.
Yeah, in fact, in Spanish, the juego de palabras is not necessarily funny. Okay, I have a student here, Ruth, this is in the audience, and she's very good at this in Spanish. You know, when I ask her, how can you say this in Spanish? She knows the exact word. I tell her my official translator. So a play on words in Spanish is also not funny, not necessarily funny. Okay.
Would you like to hear another pun?
Yeah, of course, another pun. Let's go.
I think you'll like this. You'll like this one.
Okay.
I hope. Helvetica and Times New Roman walk into a bar, and the barman says, "Get out of here. We don't serve your type."
Bad.
Can you explain why that's funny? I can see you laughing. You must find it funny.
I laugh because it's so bad.
But did you understand the joke? Did you get it?
Of course. I understood. Helvetica, was it? And Roman, what was the other?
Times New Roman.
Times New Roman. As people know, this is fonts, tipos de letras. Okay? So it says they are walking into a bar. And the bartender says, I'm sorry, we don't have your type.
We don't serve your type in here.
Your type. No vendemos vuestro tipo de letra, no? This is the font, no? But it's true. It's a pun because you're playing with the words, no? Type of beer. Usually, what type of beer do you want? Because in the bars, people ask for type of, the type of alcohol you want to drink, no? What type? But type can also mean tipo de font, the tipo de letra, no?
Yeah.
And to type also, to type. teclear, ¿no?
Two people thought it was funny. Merce thinks it's funny. She said a very good joke. Great to tell.
No, this was for the I saw that comment
was that
before,
before?
the contractions, okay. The contraction. Yeah, would you like to be a standing up comedian? Now I'm thinking, Craig, maybe you have some future.
I would love to do it, but I don't have the courage. You need a lot of courage to stand up and tell jokes, because if nobody laughs, it's very, very lonely. And I've given presentations. I think it's different. If you give a presentation, usually you're passing information, and you don't expect a reaction from the audience. Sometimes when you're telling jokes, you need a reaction from the audience. You need them to laugh. That's very difficult. That's very challenging.
But I think also you need, under my view, okay, this is you need special skill, because these people, I think they prepare it, because you have to do one. You tell one joke after another joke after another joke, but then you need a kind of skill to think about all these things, the creativity of preparing these things, and more or less surprising people, you know, like one of the things that I find very attractive about jokes sometimes is that you get completely surprised, because you never thought about that, you know. This is what I like about jokes. Okay.
Yes, at the end
funny
of
punchline. Okay, a punchline. A punchline is in Spanish we use the word remate. It's like it's like the summary or the end of the story or a joke, because this punchline can also be used in a story as well as a joke. So it's something that is very, very important in a joke, because if the punchline is wrong, you are not funny. You know, it has to be the message. It's the message that really conveys the funny part of the joke. How can I say that? No. So, you're giving the link. If somebody wants to tell a joke.
No, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Monica says, I think we need to set a relationship in a social context to like jokes. Yes, also it's true, because jokes are different according to the culture or background. And but I insist about the idea of punchline, because I don't think we use it too much in Spanish. But punch is to hit, so it's exactly what it is. So when you're telling a story, you need a punchline. You need something that calls the attention, because otherwise it doesn't make it. It's not funny. No.
Yep.
Do you have a funny? Can you give me an example, Craig, of a funny punchline? You tell a joke and you say funny.
Yes. And it's also based on teaching English. So I asked a student last week to conjugate the verb to walk in the present tense. And he said, I walk, you walk, he walks. And I said, quicker, please. And he said, I run, run.
But which was the punch? He said, I run. That's the punchline.
Yeah, because running's faster than walking. There you go.
Oh, and then even you have special effects there. You have these sounds that are appropriate to the punchline. So whenever we say a punchline, you make noise. Yeah, you make noise.
I'll do this. And it's always at the end of the joke, isn't it? The punchline always comes at the end of the joke, except when you're telling a shaggy dog story. Now, a shaggy dog story, that's easy for me to say, is a very long joke that might be funny during the story, but there's no punchline, typically. So you're telling a very, very long joke, and maybe it's funny, maybe it's entertaining. People are laughing a little bit, but there's no bang at the end. There's no punchline, nothing funny at the end of the joke, and that's called a shaggy dog story. I don't know why. Maybe you can tell us, but it's called a shaggy dog story, a long story with no punchline.
But what is exactly shaggy?
Shaggy is when a dog has very long hair and it's not cut well, so it's kind of long and not untidy. You can say the dog has a shaggy coat. So it's very loose. It's
enredado.
It's a mess. Yeah. Shaggy dog story. Okay, there's different ways of laughing though, isn't there?
Oh, this is very I have, everybody knows is laugh and smile, but then when we get to grin, chuckle, crack up is one of my favorite ones. And to wet yourself, that is very easy. That is very easy. So I would say, I'm going to ask Craig, what is the difference? Because laugh is reírse, smile is sonreír. But what is the difference between grin and chuckle?
Grin is a smile where you don't show your teeth. So the mouth is closed. That's a grin.
It's a little bit, but it's a little bit like a smile.
And if you're smiling, you're usually showing your teeth. And chuckling is making a noise. It's like...
But isn't that to giggle?
Also, yes. Although a giggle is more the noise that a young teenager will make when they cover their mouth and they're always giggling.
Yeah, they go like this. This is to giggle.
And chuckle is...
I'm going to ask Ruth what is to giggle in Spanish because I don't know the difference between grin and chuckle in Spanish. Maybe somebody can write it. No, grin, chuckle, crack up.
Giggle is reírse nerviosamente.
Yeah, but you see, there's not one word. No, in Spanish we don't have that as a verb. There's no verb that is to giggle or to chuckle or to grin. Well, maybe grin, yeah.
Chuckle, it says in Spanish, reírse entre dientes or soltar.
Reírse entre dientes, okay. Reírse entre dientes, to chuckle, sí, pero reírse entre dientes. Well, and to crack up, I know. Crack up in Spanish, it's very Spanish from Spain. Maybe Spanish from South America, so they can help me. Spanish from Spain is partirse de la risa.
Yes.
Crack up. Partirse, this is when, for example, when Craig tells a joke, I crack up. Because it's very funny. So I go,
not always.
Just crack up. And to wet yourself is very easy because this is the same. Well, it's very graphic. Mojarse, yes, because you cannot control your sphincter. So
often you wouldn't literally usually wet yourself. You'd say that because it was so funny.
Funny, yeah. I know you wouldn't literally.
And chuckling is soft laughter when something is a little bit funny.
Yeah.
If you say, "Oh, I totally cracked up," or "I absolutely wet myself," that means it was extremely, extremely funny to the point where you lost control.
I know that it's figurative to wet yourself, but it's not always true. Sometimes you laugh so much and that you cannot control it. You wet yourself. Sometimes you laugh so much. I think it has happened to everyone. Once in a while, this happens because partirse de la risa, yeah, that's the one. Mearse de la risa. Rafa says mearse de la risa, yeah, correct. Yeah. Hello,
Rafa. Good to see you here.
Mearse de la risa, yeah, because it happens. I think it happens. It's not so uncommon to have that problem, okay?
Yep.
So, okay, what else do we have?
We've got some abbreviations that are very common when you're texting these days and messaging on phones and on the internet as well. So if you type LOL, that's laugh out loud. Be careful because it can also mean lots of love. So be very careful that you're using it in the correct context. If someone types to you LOL, it could be laugh out loud. What you said is really funny. I'm laughing out loud. Or it could mean lots of love. ROFL is another common abbreviation. Roll on the floor laughing. So funnier than LOL. It's so funny that you are literally rolling on the floor, laughing, holding your sides because it's so funny. And then there's, do you want to do this or shall I do this? The last one.
Yeah, is IMAO. This is funny. Laugh my arse off, British for culo. So this is funny because this expression in Spanish, partirse el culo. In Spanish from Spain, not South America. And in Spanish from South America, that will be very vulgar to say this. But in Spanish from Spain, you can say, nos partimos el culo. Then to laugh my arse off, in American English, to laugh my ass off. So this is we were laughing so much, the laugh my arse. This is funny. The word arse. Okay, so IMAO. That's the typical thing that you write when you're texting. It's more like texting. But nowadays, I don't think people are using this too much because you have the emoticons.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
And it's easier to just put a emote. And at the beginning of the internet, there were not too many of the emojis, and so the people had to write these acronyms. You know?
That's true.
So
another word
corny. I like
corny.
this.
So I think it's cursi in Spanish. Is that correct? Cursi?
Yeah, cursi, corny.
A corny joke.
Yeah, corny. I don't know what is the origin of this word because it looks like corn, como maíz. Corny.
I'm not sure where it comes from originally, but I have a corny joke if you'd like to hear it.
Okay, of course.
How do you say snail in Spanish?
Snail. Snail is, how do you say snail? I forgot. Snail is caracol.
So a snail walks into a bar. By the way, lots of British jokes go into bars.
Bars and pubs.
So a snail walks into a bar or a pub, and the barman tells him there's a strict policy about having snails in the bar, and he kicks the snail out of the bar. And a year later, the same snail re-enters the bar, goes back in, and says to the barman, "What did you do that for?"
That was the punchline.
That was the punchline.
What did
and
you
that was
do
really
that
corny. That was a corny joke.
It took him a year to come back to the bar.
Because he's a snail, of course.
Oh, it's a snail. Yeah. But I don't understand. Why is this corny? Can you explain to me? Why is this corny? Yeah.
I think it's dangerous to try and explain humor. There's a word in English which is groan. I'll put it in the chat room.
Yeah,
groan. And when you hear a joke it's almost funny, but you're not laughing a lot. You're groan. The typical jokes you get sometimes at Christmas that we spoke about with Lynn. The kind of jokes in Christmas crackers, jokes that children like to tell when they're very young, jokes that are silly and a little bit funny and maybe corny because you could predict the punchline before you heard it, perhaps, or it's...
But I thought it was more like corny was, at least in Spanish, no? A little bit like too sweet, too emotional, like that's, you try to avoid it because, of course, it's something that you already expect because it's a typical thing you would say, something like that. But there's also the connotation of being too sweet, too mellow.
I'm checking it now for a definition. It says in the Cambridge Dictionary, corny, especially of jokes, films, and stories, showing no new ideas.
But in Spanish doesn't mean the same.
and therefore not funny or interesting. So you repeat it very often. It's not funny.
Not
it's
new
not
ideas, but
it's old.
It's confusing because the translation of cursi, then the translation is not okay. I know. That is trillado, un chiste malo, un chiste trillado. We say not cursi. In this case, then the meaning is not cursi. Cursi means in Spanish is something too emotional and sweet that you don't like. Like you receive a card, for example, the typical card with a heart and with this is corny, no? But in the joke, it would be trillado.
Yeah, it says trillado in word reference, and also malo.
Trillado. So something that you already that you already know. That I remember, I had an uncle who said, "Chiste repetido sale podrido." I remember he said this. So the joke that you repeat, it's rotten. Something he said that, and that is the meaning. So,
one person watching found it funny because my guest said that she found the joke funny. Actually, she laughed out loud, literally.
Oh, very good. Christine has very difficult questions.
Trite or hackneyed? Yes, that's the different definition in one of the dictionaries I saw, Christine. Trite or hackneyed, yeah, could be an explanation of corny as well. But I think if you think about things that are not original, repeated, and not very funny, that's my.
Rafa has a very good. Rafa has also a very good word, manido. Manido means like it has been used too much.
And we also said this before, to get a joke or to not get a joke means to understand it, to realize that it's funny. For example, my guest got my joke. She understood that it was funny and she laughed. So she got it. Maybe some people didn't get it. What about these two?
Hilarious. It's funny. It's funny. I'm going to explain hilarious because hilarious is a word. It's very common in English. We say that something is hilarious when it's very funny. But in Spanish, there is a word, there is an adjective, is hilarante. But we never say that word. We write it, but we don't say it because it's too sophisticated. I think it's, and too formal probably. It's a very formal word. But in English, it's funny because in English it's something that it's common vocabulary. That was hilarious, Craig. What you told was it was hilarious, you know. It's a very, very common word.
Correct.
And side splitting, that I leave it for you.
Yeah, if it's very, very funny, very, very funny, hilarious, you can say the joke is side splitting. So not literally to split your side of the body, but you're laughing so hard that your body hurts. And you can say idiomatically, it's a side-splitting joke. It's really, really funny. So it's similar to hilarious. That's why we put those together. And they're both adjectives to describe a joke or a film or a story.
You should say hello to Darian. He's giving you a very nice comment.
Oh, thank you, Darian. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a lovely comment. Thank you very much. From Mexico, from Cancun. It's really good to see you here. Thanks for joining and for using the page.
Hilarious.
Yeah, you said more hilarious with E, and I said hilarious more with A because it's more American. Like you said with E. It's like, how do you, can you repeat that again?
Hilarious.
Yeah, it is British.
Hilarious.
I say hilarious, like more A, hilarious. No. This is different. Knock jokes. Oh, this is like
about puns and practical jokes. What's a knock joke?
Knock. This is a knock joke. Is a silly joke that the children tell. No, knock. Who is there? Who?
It's a form. Yeah, it's a form of joke. So it follows a pattern. So let's give you an example. One person starts. Let's say I start, and I say, Monica, knock.
Who is it? Yeah. Who is it?
Control freak.
Control freak
no,
who?
Wait, you say control freak who?
I blew it. No,
So,
it was no. I mean, start again. Start again. Okay. Knock knock.
Again? Okay. Knock
Yeah.
knock.
Who is it?
Control freak.
Who?
Control freak.
Control freak who?
No, wait. You say control freak who?
Yeah, control freak who?
I think that's funnier than the joke.
Control freak who?
A knock knock joke is that typical thing. So one person says knock knock, who's there? Then you say something, then the other person says da 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 da, who? But if you're a control freak, immediately you want to tell the other person what to do. So when you explain a joke, it's never very funny. Sorry.
No, it's never very funny. It was funny for us.
And Christine asked before about one-liners, a one-liner joke. So they're very, very short. I like one-liners very much. They're my favorite kind of joke because they're short. So you can tell many. And if you watch a comedian on YouTube, for example, they'll tell one-liner after another one-liner very quickly. And they're not connected. It's not one continuous story. All the jokes are separate, and they're one-liners.
Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning. What else?
Well, that's all the vocabulary we have. I can tell one joke before we have a discussion, and then invite people in to tell their jokes. Shall I tell one joke?
Okay, go ahead.
Let me find one here. Let's see if I can find one. How many Spanish speakers does it take to screw in a light bulb? To screw in a light bulb.
I have no idea.
Just one.
Just what?
Just one.
Just one.
One.
This joke reminds me of the Piquen English.
Yeah.
You probably did anybody tell you this Spanish joke?
No, tell me.
Piquen English. Do you know Piquen English is picanas English? The English are your thighs, your inner thighs. And
English.
Sounds English. Yeah, English. So piquen is itching. Do your thighs itch? This is so piquen English? No. You're sorry. Sorry. I remember one colleague of mine in the office said, yeah, you are sorry. Sorry means like saying sorry, but he said sorry, like zorro, no? Zorra in Spanish from Spain means a prostitute. You're sorry or something like that. All kinds of, this is a pun, with rather not so funny. Okay, so
do you know any Spanish jokes?
Well, I just told you speaking English and you're sorry. No, I am very bad for Spanish jokes. No.
Okay.
Eduardo has sorry, we don't serve food. Okay. Oh, look, a sandwich enters a bar. This is very good. And orders a beer. There's a collocation here, no? Collocation, sorry. Pronunciation. The sound is in not bear, but beer. The bartender says, sorry, we don't serve food. Oh.
Very good. Yeah. I like that.
Okay,
yep. Excellent.
Okay, so.
I can tell a joke in Spanish.
You can tell a joke in Spanish? Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Rafa and Maria live in a village, and Maria's standing in the balcony of the flat, and Rafa's in the street. And Rafa sees Maria, and Rafa looks up and says, Maria, ¿qué soy? And Maria looks down and says, Imbécil, idiota. And Rafa says, no, del día. And she says, de día de noche. I told it very badly. I'm not very good at telling jokes.
No, but
Let's.
¿Qué soy? ¿Qué soy?
¿Qué soy?
Ah,
¿Qué,
soy.
could be ¿Qué soy? What day is it?
Ah,
No, día.
¿qué día es hoy?
Or ¿qué soy? What am I?
¿Qué día soy? Imbécil,
It's not
idiota.
funny when you explain it. It's not
Yeah,
funny.
I know, but I'm trying to figure it out. Okay.
Christine says, yes, your joke is falling flat.
Mm-hmm.
It did fall flat, Christine. You're right.
There's
maybe you have some jokes that you would like to tell us. So we are now inviting you to come in to the chat with us and tell a joke, because I'm sure they are not worse than our jokes, or definitely not worse than my joke. So I'm putting the link in the chat that you need to put on in your browser to join us. And I'll also put a banner at the bottom of the screen so that you can come in and join us. Let me remove that. And while we're waiting for you, hopefully, to come in, why do you think it's often difficult for learners of a language, Monica, to understand the humor? It's usually the last thing that a learner understands, isn't it? The humor.
Oh, yeah, I think we talked at the beginning a little bit about this, because you need the context. It's very important for jokes to understand the context, and sometimes it's things about the news, the politicians, the government, corruption, things that only the locals know, and that's why it's so difficult. And also because the language you use usually is advanced language, and especially in the case of puns, because you need to say things like you need to know the second meaning of a language, of a word. There's two reasons, I think, the main reasons why it's so difficult to understand jokes. In fact, I would say that for me to understand British jokes, sometimes I don't, because I don't know most of the jokes I understand, but if I don't know the context, I cannot follow. Because I have not been reading the newspapers. I don't know. I try to follow a little bit, no? For example, the royal family, the things. But if you're not really in TV shows that people know, presenters, all kinds of things that you're not aware of, so you don't understand the jokes. We don't.
Very quickly, aren't they? People tell them quickly, and they're the play on words.
Also.
Sometimes there are double meanings, and that's difficult to get sometimes.
Yeah.
Are there any more jokes? Yeah, Eduardo says we don't get the double meanings of some words. That's true.
There's Asiram Revit has a joke there. La maestra Pepito, ¿podrías decirme dos pronombres? But he needs to write. This is in Spain.
Who, me? two pronouns. Who, me?
This is a Jaimito kind of joke. In Spanish from Spain, we talk about Jaime.
Or when you ask a student, hey, Juanito or Pepito, tell me one thing that begins with the letter N that you're not very good at. And Juanito says spelling. Come on, we want to hear your jokes. Use the code at the bottom of the screen, StreamYard, and come in and tell us a joke if you can. In English, preferably.
Christine is saying, oh, here's a joke. There's a woman in labor suddenly shouted, oh, wow, this is the one that you said. Yeah. Don't worry. Those are just, you told this joke.
Demi, before. I've told that one already.
Yeah.
So that's while we're waiting for people to join us. Are there many differences between British and Spanish humor? I laugh at some Spanish jokes, but there are some Spanish jokes that go over my head. If it goes over your head, you don't get it. You don't understand it. What do you think? Are there many
Yeah, of
differences?
course, there are
Do the Spanish
differences.
laugh at different things to the English?
And I think there's always a local humor, and it's also cultural. And also, I was talking to you before we started about the differences in Spain. Also, there are regional humors, because we know, for example, Andalusia, they tend to be very funny people. They always make jokes, and I would say funnier than in the north. And there are many comedians that come from that region of Spain also. And the jokes, I think people sometimes they tend to be like laughing about other people's misfortunes, or laughing at yourself, no, sometimes. And British humor is very ironic. And
Yes.
it's very, this is the fun of British humor, that is sarcastic and ironic, no?
And I
And
think British people do laugh at themselves a lot. That's one
yeah,
thing.
they laugh at themselves a lot. And
Laugh at
also,
themselves. Yeah.
for example,
Deprecate
I used to like a lot Mr. Bean as a comedian,
Mhm.
because of the, because he did many silly things, and also he was a little bit evil. He was all the time thinking like, how can I fuck this one? And I was thinking, this is funny, because he's always thinking to do some kind of naughty trick, or play a trick, or that.
So that's
But
perfect for to bring us to the next question, because some of it is acid humor. It's acidic, and you're laughing at people's misfortunes. So
yeah,
are there things that we shouldn't laugh at, or is everything fair game? Is everything okay? We can laugh at anything because at the moment we're in a difficult situation. So we should laugh whenever we can. What do you think?
I think it goes with the times. For example, now I was talking to some students that now it's very popular to be political. We say to have political correctness.
Yeah.
So it's something, for example, that in the past, in the 70s and the 80s, people were more lenient about this, and you would say jokes that were a little bit male chauvinist, against women, against gay people. And nowadays, this is it's perceived in a completely different way, and I think that's why I say that goes with the time, because what was funny in the 60s is not the same as what's funny in the 80s or in the 2000s, and now it's now you have to be very careful of who you tell a joke to,
Yeah.
and what you say, I think, because certain things are not considered appropriate for the, and sometimes there have been big problems with this, for some comedians telling jokes, for example, that were a little bit in the limit there, where against certain kind of people, ethnical groups or whatever. And this, I think, is similar in the UK and all over the world now. For example, in the US and all that, this is, I think it has changed. It has changed. And so now they're telling us you shouldn't joke about these things, and many things that you cannot joke about.
Maybe because humor reflects the society that we live in, and
Yeah.
culturally, as the society changes, then humor changes with it. It's a reflection of the
Yeah.
culture we're in. There's some interesting comments that's coming up.
Yeah.
First of all, an expression that we forgot, that Christine's reminded us of: to be the butt of a joke means to be the victim of the joke. So the joke's about you. For example, people are laughing at you. You are the joke, so you're the butt of the joke. And Liliana says, even between people from different countries with the same language, it's difficult
Yes.
to understand
Yeah,
jokes. It's very
Liliana, you're
cultural,
correct.
isn't it?
Yeah. That's why when I'm talking, I'm referring to jokes in Spain, not to jokes in South America, because it could be completely different. Huh? It's true. Because it's cultural.
Jose Ignacio's asking about The Office. Actually, Jose Ignacio, that's one recommendation I wanted to give. So let me do that now before I forget. So if you're interested in looking at some British humor for TV series, I would recommend The Office, the British version of The Office with Ricky Gervais.
There's an American. Now I remember.
To understand American humor, you could compare the British version with the American version. They are very different. They are both very good. Obviously, I prefer the British version because it reflects my cultural background more than the American Office.
But this is what is the name of the comedian that has been very, very popular?
Ricky Gervais.
Ricky. But I must say something that I have been following The Office. I forgot to tell you this, but I've been following The Office, and it is quite difficult. That is not so easy. At least the British Office is it's very difficult to understand. I would say C1, C2 level. You need. It's not for intermediate levels.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But it's very natural conversation that you might have in an office in the UK because I've worked in an office. It's very realistic.
It's very funny.
Very realistic. So if you want to get an idea of what native speakers, how they interact in a working environment, it's a good show to watch. And my second recommendation for a home environment of British people, The Royal Family, is very funny. It's just a family of British people sitting around the television at home and speaking. And it's I think it's very funny, but it's also very British.
I don't know that one.
The Royal Family.
The Royal Family, yeah. The Royal Family, yeah.
While I'm giving recommendations,
the Royal Family, you put it there. Yeah, this is the.
If you want to watch a film, the two I recommend: The Big Lebowski, which is American but very very funny. It's a Coen Brothers film.
Yeah.
And Life of Brian.
Life of Brian is a classic. Yeah. It's Life of Brian. I remember I saw that one, but
did you like it?
Many years ago, I was a little bit shocked because it's too extreme for me.
Too extreme.
Yeah, because I'm too girly, probably. Isn't that like the thing of vomiting and exploding? Because I remember the first image of this movie was the guy that was eating a lot and he exploded.
That's a different film.
From the same group.
Life of Brian is the satire on religion.
Yeah.
If you're a religious person, you might not enjoy it because it's very satirical. When it came out, it was very controversial. There's a joke from Asiram. Why did the M&Ms go to school? Because they wanted to be smarties.
Oh, that's a nice. Well, that's a nice joke. This is a nice joke. You have to understand the Smarties and M&Ms. M&Ms is a kind of chocolate, no?
Can you read this one?
What is black and white? Black and white, black and white. A penguin rolling down the hill. Okay. Yeah.
I like it. Very good.
Yes, it's a little rolling. Very nice. No, this we already talked about. We shouldn't laugh at.
What do you call a fake noodle? An impasta. There you go.
Especially the way you pronounce it in British English. The way you pronounce it in British English is important here because it actually is an impostor with an R, an impostor, and impasta.
So but not if you're Italian. If you're Italian, you might say, "Hey, it's an impasta."
An impasta. What do you call a fake noodle? An impasta. Yeah. So, but it actually is an impostor.
We only have 5 minutes, so this is your last chance to come in and tell us a joke.
I don't know. Nobody does.
There's the address at the bottom of the screen. Put that in your browser. It works well on Google Chrome. So come and tell us a joke. Don't just write it. Tell it. Practice your English.
But nobody dares.
Nobody dares. I'll put the link one final time in the chat in case you find the courage to come and tell us a joke. but we will only laugh if it's funny.
They were just writing. So,
do we have another question? Yeah, I think we have another question. No, I don't think we have. We don't have any more questions. So unless you don't have any more jokes, I think we'll leave it there.
Okay.
Do we have any more comments?
Let me see. No, I think it's more or less the time already.
Yeah. I'll give 2 more recommendations before we go. There's a podcast I like very much, but be careful. Ojo, it's not family friendly. There's an American comedian called Bill Burr, and he has a podcast. So if you search Bill Burr, you'll find it. I've put his name in the chat. And he swears a lot. He says a lot of bad words on the podcast. He's constantly swearing. So don't listen to it if you have children around. But I like him very much. He's my favorite American comedian at the moment. I think he's very funny. And also for alternative comedy, check out Stuart Lee on YouTube. I've also put his name in the chat. He's very, very different. Some people love him, some people hate him. I think he's very clever, and watch a few of his videos if you're interested in British humor, and see if you like the way he tells jokes. It's very
don't get disappointed if you don't understand, because you have, it's quite hard. Even sometimes I think not even British people understand. It could be, because sometimes it happens with jokes that people don't understand them. So,
and as we said before, it's one of the last things that understand when you're learning a second language. So you have to be patient, but it's good to explore. It's good
it's good to explore. This I agree. But don't get disappointed. This is very important, because sometimes people go and jump into these kind of shows and they don't understand anything. They say, "Oh, I don't know any English. Oh, my English is so bad." I say, "Wow, come on! Not even the natives understand the guy." Because it's very regional, very local for humor also.
And don't tell any of the jokes that we've told you here, because they're not very good.
No. Okay.
Anyway, thank you for being with us.
So thank you very much. So Blog del Inglés, lots of resources, free English, and also classes over Skype. If you go to Blog del Inglés, you'll find me also other teachers. You can go to Blog del Inglés, and there you'll see some links to Skype classes.
From Mansion Inglés. If you don't know that website, we have free courses and material for you to improve your English. So go and check it out. There's also a jokes page if you're interested in jokes. And our podcast is weekly, every week, every Sunday, inglespodcast.com. And if you'd like to listen to that, I hope it will help you improve your English and take it to the next level. So,
sorry, one thing, Eduardo says, if you don't mind, I'd like to recommend a really funny podcast for English learners, Rock and Roll English.
Rock and Roll English. I've heard of it.
No.
Eduardo, why do you like it? I'm curious. Is it funny? Are you learning a lot from it? Why do you like Rock and Roll English? I will definitely make a note and listen to that, because I haven't listened to it. I'm just curious.
Christine noticed that you are wearing a t-shirt that says grumpy. And she says, by the way, I don't think you're grumpy.
It's Grumpy Geezers from the Muppets. The Grumpy Geezers.
It's very funny. The Muppets is very funny. That character I loved it. There's like these old guys talking there, like making comments. Yeah.
That's why I wore it. And thank you for noticing, Christine, because it's very ironic, and British humor is ironic, to wear a grumpy t-shirt when you're speaking about humor. So thank you for noticing my grumpy t-shirt. Okay, we're out of here. So thanks for being with us.
Okay, so bye-bye.
And some music to say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.